I have to tell you, over in the UK, they have some serious problems. I'd be very interested to see what this would look like if this survey was replicated in Australia. But a survey was done in the UK of reception teachers. So these are kids who've just come out of preschool, kindergarten, and they're starting their first year at school. And these teachers were asked about the readiness of children coming into school in reception, or I think in New South Wales it's called kinder. It was reception where I was. In South Australia, I think they call it reception in the UK as well. And the numbers that have come back in terms of teachers reporting kids not being ready for school is extraordinary. Keep in mind, these are kids like 5, 6 years old, right? They said, the teachers, 26% of kids were having frequent toilet mishaps, so they're not properly toilet trained. 28% cannot eat or drink independently by 5 or 6 years old. 25% do not have basic language skills, i.e. being able to say their own names, for goodness sake. 37% in total, they said, were not ready for school. So more than a third of students, they say, are not ready for school by the age of 5 or 6. 28%, this is the most extraordinary one, don't know how to use a book properly. And the teachers are reporting that kids are picking up books, let's say this is a book, and they're going like it's a device, like an iPad or a phone or something. They've never seen a book in their lives before. They don't know how to flip pages. They're going, how do I use this like an iPad? What? I mean, it just boggles the mind. The fact that parents are allowing their kids to go off to school in this sort of state, the poor old teachers then have to deal with it. And then, of course, when they asked the parents whether they thought their kids were ready for school, more than 80% said they were. So clearly there's a big disconnect here between what the parents think is going on and what the teachers are seeing at school. But how do we get to a point where a kid doesn't even know what a book is?
With many of these issues, I think parenting is the problem and parenting is the solution. And you mentioned the statistic, 25% of these kids starting school lacked basic language skills, including the ability to say their own name. How do you raise a child to age 4 or 5 who can't even say their own name? That's like an epic parenting failure. This is not an education system failure. This is a parenting failure. However, it turns into an education system failure because the stats also say that teachers are spending upwards of 1.5 hours per day changing kids' underwear because they've wet themselves, or helping kids do basic things like drink or eat, or understand, simple skills that you would assume they would have had. So a parenting issue then affects the education system. And I think sometimes schools get more of a bad rap than they ought, because schools ultimately are a reflection of what's going on in the homes. And so this is a parenting issue.
Well, clearly these kids aren't being taught how to live independently. If they can't feed themselves, they can't go to the toilet, they can't read a book. I mean, either that means they've been in perhaps institutional childcare since a very early age, where they've had carers around who can do those sorts of things and not as much one-on-one attention from parents, or they've just had parents who were complete helicopters and so they never had to learn these skills. I really don't understand how that's even possible by 5 years old. And ultimately, I think this is actually a form of abuse against children. If your child is 5 or 6 and can't go to the toilet by themselves, can't say their own name, you have fundamentally failed as a parent to equip them with the skills they should have by that age. And we know that how you start school sets you up or holds you back in the future. If you start at that much of a disadvantage, I don't know how you recover as a kid. It's really sad.